because this isn't driven, obviously, by any semblance of justice. This is driven by personal vendetta. This is driven by a desire to demoralize. That's exactly why she wants to take his properties, because she wants to destroy them, make them unlivable. She wants to show everybody who's watching, I can take your stuff and I can turn it into a trash heap, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I made the prediction a couple of weeks ago on X. I said, wouldn't it be something? I said, Letitia James is going after these properties, and you know what they would do if they could get their hands on them? It'd just be another place where they could house illegals in New York. They're going to make an example out of him in every way that they can, so that a candidate will never want to step up and say, we're going to buck the system, drain the swamp, or do anything about the big government problem.
All right, folks, a lot to break down today. Trump's in New York in court. We got two things there happening, the Alvin Bragg case and then that big $500 million bond that he has to put up. Marjorie Taylor Greene's not happy with the package that was passed by the House to keep the government funding. She wants to make a motion to vacate the speakership. Chuck Todd is in meltdown mode at NBC News over Ronna McDaniel getting hired. We got a lot to get into with our panel. Chad Prather is here and Amber Athey Duke is here as well. Before we get into it with them, I want to talk to you guys about two amazing sponsors. And also, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 100,000. We're so close. But two amazing sponsors help keep the show going and free on all these platforms. Let me tell you about two of them. All right, if you're an animal lover like I am, I want to tell you about the great work of Delta Rescue. And if you go to deltarescue.org, you can check it all out right there. There's great videos. They show you what they do. It's a no-kill sanctuary. Notice that I didn't say shelter. Animal lovers, you're used to going to the shelter to rescue, right? Leo Grillo founded Delta Rescue as a no-kill sanctuary for life that dogs, cats, horses, and other animals can get the care that they need. The veterinary care, the nutrition care, as a place to run free, to enjoy the rest of their lives. But Delta Rescue only exists because of the contributions of people like you and me. $5, $25, $100, $1,000, a couple thousand, whatever you can spare if you're an animal lover. But more importantly, Leo Grillo, when he founded it, wanted it to be an enduring mission, something that went on well into the future. And to do that, we're asking people to check out deltarescue.org and go to the estate planning kit. So if you can make a contribution, great. But also go to the estate planning kit and see if you can make Delta Rescue part of your estate to help make sure that that mission endures forever. Go to deltarescue.org, check out the great work that they do, make a contribution, and then download that estate planning kit to see if you can make it part of your estate. When crisis hits, when an emergency hits, will you be prepared? I know I will, because I have a Patriot Power Generator 2000X in my house. And you can too if you go to 4patriots.com/Spicer. 4patriots.com/Spicer. When the power goes out, whether that's a day, a couple days, a few weeks, maybe even a month, think about all the challenges that we face to our power grid, natural disasters and emergencies. You want to be ready. And with the Patriot Power Generator 2000X, you can power your refrigerator, devices, computers, tablets, phones, you name it. All the things that are important to you, your family, that can be taken care of. And you can bring the Patriot Power Generator into your house. No fumes, no gas, no noise. It's perfect. It's portable, and it charges on solar panels that come free with it. You don't have to worry about reloading it, bringing out gas, getting it filled, the fumes, the noise. No, the Patriot Power Generator is fully portable. It can go into your house. You can put it in your car, drive it somewhere, helping out a family friend. And again, it's completely powered by solar panels that come with it. So go to 4patriots.com/Spicer so that you are ready in an emergency or crisis. All right, guys, good Monday morning. This is normally a quiet time in politics. It's this Holy Week. Members of Congress are gone. And yet there's never a quiet time anymore. I mean, Trump's up in New York, two cases that he's dealing with today. He's in court on the Alvin Bragg case, and then Tish James, the AG up there, is dealing with this whole issue about his bond and how much money he owes. He just put out an email saying, hey, reminder, I'm in court today and they're coming after me because they want to get to you. But Amber, I'll start with you. I mean, let's just start with the Alvin Bragg case. This is all about that Stormy Daniels stuff, but there's been a big delay in the case. Jury selection was supposed to start today, but they're delaying it because they found out that there were literally thousands of pages of documents that Trump's team hadn't gotten access to because the Southern District of New York hadn't turned them all over. They include things like their conversations and transcripts and notes from Michael Cohen. It seems to me, at least, that this is all about the Trump team just trying to delay. Does this case matter, do you think, in the big picture of whether or not he gets quote unquote convicted?
It actually seems like the least important, at least the one that people are not following the closest. And you mentioned Michael Cohen. There's another interesting wrinkle in this case because he's now being accused of perjury by another judge because of his testimony that he gave in that other case with AG Letitia James in the civil fraud, because he basically admitted that his guilty plea for previous perjury charges in covering up or falsifying documents rather was not real, that he actually didn't believe that he was guilty, which you can't do when you give a guilty plea and you're admitting guilt. You can't turn around and say, well, I didn't really mean it, and then testify to that under oath. So now there's a possibility that he might not even be able to be used as a witness in this case.
Yeah, I mean, this has more twists and turns. Chad, the interesting thing is for months, the media loves to, when analyzing the presidential race, say, although Republicans say if he's convicted, that'll really change things, which I actually kind of doubt. I think everything's baked in with Donald Trump. Do you think, look, considering this case, it's in New York, there's no loss of love for Donald Trump among New York voters, right? I mean, the city, the state are very Democratic. So the odds of him actually getting convicted, I'd say, are pretty high. Do you think, though, that the media will go all in this and analyze the race and say, now that he's a convicted felon, or did they realize that this is not the strongest case to use as the perfect example?
You know, I agree it's not the strongest case, but they're going to use whatever they can have. I mean, whatever they've got at hand, they're going to use. You know, I said back when Ron DeSantis jumped in the presidential race, I said they're going to add a couple of words to the end of Ron DeSantis's name. They're going to say, but he's worse. They'll always run with the narrative, right? They'll add what they can to describe a candidate, to describe a Republican, and certainly there's no end of categories that they're willing to put Donald Trump in. So they're willing to make mountains out of molehills. We've seen this over and over again. But what I predict is going to happen, Sean, is this thing is going to continue to get lost in bureaucracy because this is muddy, murky, swampy territory. And these guys, a lot of times, because that government bureaucracy is so big in the way they're doing things, as we've seen in Georgia, you know, you pull one string, the whole thing starts to unravel, like with Fani Willis. I'm interested to see how the Trump lawyers are going to continue to pursue this because just as she mentioned with the Michael Cohen situation, these guys, they a lot of times can't get out of their own way. So regardless of the narrative that the media spins, I think if you look below the surface, you're going to see a lot of chaos that's going on. Is it going to lead to a conviction? They might rubber stamp something, but I don't think it's going to lead to anything. As you said, I think he's the guy, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because they really screwed up. This is I think you're absolutely right. They constantly screw up their own case. Mm-hmm. Trump's ultimate goal is just to keep punting this thing. It's a silly, silly case. We have all talked about this before. The statute of limitations expired. It's a bookkeeping misdemeanor offense for anybody else that they trump this thing up, no pun intended. But the other one's actually really interesting. So let's get to this, right? So Trump was convicted through, I still don't understand how, the way that this trial didn't really take place. It was just sort of, we found him guilty, and then it was a pleading on the penalty, which they assessed at basically $500 million for a victimless crime. Again, just so everyone is listening to this, even the haters, remember there was no crime. Trump negotiated mortgage terms with lenders, and he said, here's my property, here's how much I think it's worth. The bank agreed or disagreed, whatever came to terms. He paid the loan off. The banks are happy. And then Tish James comes in and sues him for whatever, misvaluing the properties, of which they've done themselves with places like Mar-a-Lago. But bottom line is, while he appeals it, he has to put up a bond of equal amount. And they can go after things of his, because this is where I think the media is not being honest with folks. And I've had this conversation with individuals, Amber. No one's that liquid. If you called me right now and said, I need $20,000, I'd have to say, hey, I got stocks, bonds, a 401k. We own, I have a rental property. I'll have to sell something, right? No one stays liquid, especially the tune of $500 million. So he's tried to get a bond. It doesn't seem to play out. Just, Amber, do you think that this, he ultimately comes through with the money, that he tries to strike a deal on the money, or does Tish James literally start seizing properties in the next 24, 72 hours?
It's interesting, he just agreed to this merger involving Truth Social that's worth something like $3.2 billion added to his net worth. And it's possible that he very well could leverage some type of loan against that, where he's able to put up the bond. That was obviously not something that Tish James was anticipating, because she's already signaled she wants to take the properties. And I think it's important for people to understand, too, that basically Trump doesn't have to post the bond to appeal, but he has to post the bond if he doesn't want them to start collecting on that $500,000 judgment. So it's basically designed to disincentivize him from appealing. And to your point, people don't get that wealthy by just keeping their cash sitting in a checking or savings account, right? They have it wrapped up in investments. They have it in properties. You can't just go to the bank and withdraw $500,000 and hand it over.
Billion.
$500 million, right? $500 million. You can't just go to the bank and pull out $500 million and hand it over to the court system. That's just not fundamentally how this works.
You don't think you could viNMO that? Hey,
right,
how much?
Zella, whatever.
Hey, look, I'd love to do it. I'm gonna have to do it in pieces. Venmo has a daily limit. I'm gonna do that over 30 days. Chad, the thing is, let me get back to what I was asking Amber. I think if Tish James starts seizing properties, 40 Wall Street, 7 Springs, the estate that they say is valued at $25 million. This is the I've seen the movie. They keep jumping the shark. And the second that they go after his assets for an appealable offense, that there's no final judgment on, I feel like that's going to benefit him again.
It's going to benefit him, and there's no doubt about it. They're going to keep making the mistake with this. As one headline read just this weekend, if they do this, then New York could very well go for Trump. I mean, who knows? We'll see what's going on. But I think the common person out there sees the lawfare that's going on. It's absolutely ridiculous. And yes, $500 million is over my daily limit on Venmo. But, a man can dream. A man can dream. And I made the prediction a couple of weeks ago on X. I said, wouldn't it be something? I said, Letitia James is going after these properties. And you know what they would do if they could get their hands on them? It'd just be another place where they could house illegals in New York.
Don't say that. Oh, my God.
That's true. It's true, Sean. You know it's true.
God, you are so right. I'm thinking to myself, how she just wants to take that knife and put it in his bag and then twist it. Oh, God. On the one hand, I'm like, you just brought up something so prophetic. On the other,
you can't be nastier than these people.
No,
these people
you're
are
right.
disgusting human beings, and this is the kind of thing that they would go for.
No, oh wow, I literally am just taking that in because you're absolutely right. It was funny. I asked Lindsay Keith a couple weeks ago on the question on the debate question. Will they debate? And she said no. And I'm like, okay. But then she said, here's why. They're going to claim that Trump, we're not debating a criminal and the media will buy it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the answer. That's how they're going to do this. But you're exactly right. She's going to take a property and then say, and I'm going to allow illegals to live in it to show Donald. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, it's a far stretch because again, I say a far stretch because no, trust me, Sean, I believe that's exactly what she would do if she can get her hands on the property. It's a far stretch if she can get her hands on the property. We'll see. They're going to try something because and listen, I always encourage people. I say you better be glad that Donald Trump is the guy who's in this position because most Republican candidates in this position would not be able to handle this level of lawfare and the expensive things that they're coming after him for. Most people would not be able to handle the level of pressure that he has. I mean, he's out winning golf tournaments over the weekend and still dealing with this stuff in New York,
2 titles,
and Atlanta,
senior title
and everywhere.
and club champion, 2 titles.
Yeah. So I don't know how anybody would do it. I mean, he's literally falling on the sword for half the people in America here because most couldn't put up with this. But they're going to make an example out of him in every way that they can. So that a candidate will never want to step up and say, we're going to buck the system, drain the swamp, or do anything about the big government problem.
Amber, what Chad just said, I had this conversation with, I just want to get it away, with someone who had served in the past administration, in the Trump administration, a lawyer. And I said, would you go back? You know, that's a question a lot of us get asked. And from this conversation, he said, I just can't afford to do it. He goes, what I've had to deal with. And what Chad is saying, I think is so important for people to understand. This isn't just about Trump. It's scaring anybody from being affiliated with Trump, from serving with Trump, from campaigning for Trump, from donating to Trump. It's, if you are public, we're going to come after you, and we're showing you now how effective and how ruthless we will be going after Donald Trump. So beware, stay away from this guy. That's what they are ultimately doing.
It's funny you say that, Sean, because I've had that exact same conversation with other people who served in the first admin, and every single one of them says, I'd like to, but I also have a family and I have expenses, and I just can't justify doing it when I have to take care of my little ones. I mean, it's honestly so sad. I mean, look at what they're doing to Peter Navarro. He's now serving literal jail time because he wouldn't comply with the political sham committee, with January 6th, Nancy Pelosi getting to veto what Republicans were allowed to serve on it. The minority party wasn't allowed to have the same rights in terms of subpoenas and investigatory powers. And he said, I'm not going to comply. I have executive privilege. And they threw him in prison. The whole point of these exercises, and I think it helps explain too why we keep seeing these cases fall apart and them getting so far ahead of themselves and basically shooting themselves in the foot, is they can't help it, because this isn't driven, obviously, by any semblance of justice. This is driven by personal vendetta. This is driven by a desire to demoralize. That's exactly why she wants to take his properties, because she wants to destroy them, make them unlivable. She wants to show everybody who's watching, I can take your stuff and I can turn it into a trash heap, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just another element stacked on top of everything else to make you look at what's happening and say, oh crap, I don't hope they don't do that to me.
Exactly. But I also think that with respect to Trump, like in 2016, I remember at the end of the campaign, he wrote a check to help cover, presented him with some options about additional media and some financial options about, get out the vote efforts. And he was like, fine, I'll write a check. If you bleed this guy dry, if you take his plane, if you take whatever, you start to limit his ability to campaign as well. Remember, it's get him off the ballot, attack him criminally, and bleed him financially. Let me just kind of do a quick lightning round, though. I mean, Chad, one, do you think he comes up with the money? I think that Amber's point about leveraging potentially the Truth Social stock is an option. He could ask some friends to help pony it up. Do you think, first question to both of you, do you think Trump comes up with the resources to post the bond? Yes or no?
He does. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that he has to, but I think that he does.
Amber?
I think he will as well.
Okay, then that may answer the second question. Do you think, I mean, right now, as of this second, he hasn't shown an ability to come up with it. Okay, so today she could start laying claim to his properties. So second question is, regardless of, he may take a few days, does Tish James take steps in the next 24, 48 hours to start seizing his property? Amber, do you think she does that?
Yes. I mean, she's already been looking at one of those clubs, I believe the one on Long Island. So, yeah, I think she will try.
Chad?
Yeah, 100%. She's taken the virtual tour on Realtor.com already.
She joked about something like, I drive by 40 Wall Street all the time. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that you should be making light of this. It's a serious, I don't know. But they're just, again, it shows you. All right, I want to pivot from the presidency to Congress, the other house here. This whole, there's so many things to break down. The House passes this bill. Let's start with this real quick. Chad, they passed the remainder of FY24 that was due in October, finally, over the weekend. 4 bills remained, including the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security. Republicans, especially Freedom Caucus members, are saying Mike Johnson sold them out. He laid out a bunch of issues that he said that he got negotiated in the bill, everything from more border agents to more beds to not allowing U.S. facilities to fly anything but the U.S. flag, something that Biden and Obama had done with the gay pride flag. Do you think that Republicans should have held out for a better deal, Chad, or was this, considering the circumstances, Dems control the Senate, Dems control the White House, this was the best deal that they could get at the time?
I don't know, Sean. I'm narrow-minded enough to want to be able to say that my conviction would push them to hold out. Playing politics in that nasty climate there in Washington, D.C., I don't know how many Republicans we have with a spine and a backbone anymore. I mean, I know there's a few outspoken radicals out there, and again, those are terminologies that's used by others. To me, I think they got a lot of common sense, and again, they got a little bit of intestinal fortitude to push back. But they're never going to be heard. They're going to be marginalized, and they're going to be called crazy and extremists and all of these things. Will they ever get anything done? I don't know. Listen, I think I like Mike Johnson. I think I like the guy. I think I like what he's doing. I like his presence there. I like his demeanor. Is it what we need in the long run? I'm not sure. But this thing, it's just a nasty mess. Yeah. I don't like that bill at all.
I agree. Amber?
Yeah, I mean, the dollar amount alone is disturbing. I think it's $1.2 trillion. That should be enough to give anyone pause. But the reality is now with Mike Gallagher leaving, the Republicans are going to have like one vote to spare. So you can only achieve so much with your caucus, especially when your caucus is going through this sort of division and fracturing over the future of the party. It's sort of inevitable that you're going to end up negotiating something that has Democratic support. I think it's unrealistic to suggest otherwise. Do you think Mike Johnson has done a decent job on some other issues, right? He's held out against the Senate bipartisan border bill. He's refused to bring up that foreign aid bill on Ukraine and Israel. He says they're not going to package those together. So I think those are some worthy achievements that people should point to when defending him. But definitely the spending bill that just passed is troubling.
I'm with both of you guys. I feel like at some point, though, you've got to fight. And the border is being invaded. There's no question about it. And if there's one thing that you could fight for, it's protecting our country. And this would have been the time. This was HHS. I get it. I mean, look, there are consequences of not passing this bill. And I get it. I mean, there was a notice put out to everybody in DOD, Department of Defense, that like, hey, if you had orders that were executed, I mean, like, you're affecting people's lives. The problem I have is Washington always comes up to the last minute and then goes, okay, now we're going to cut a deal. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, this was a deal that should have been done in October of last year. And I get that Mike Johnson was only speaker for the last, 2 months or something. But like, guys, this is the one thing that you should be able to unify on, is protecting our country, protecting our border, stopping fentanyl, terrorists, trafficking from coming into the country. And it's like, you would have won on that issue. And I don't know. So Amber, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, I don't think that Mike Johnson did a good enough job. She filed the motion to vacate.
With rules and promises to the American people that we would bring regular order back to Congress. Speaker Johnson has betrayed that by passing 3 CRs and then forcing us to pass or to vote on a 2-part omnibus, the second one being today. I filed the motion to vacate today, but it's more of a warning and a pink slip. And it's time for us to go through the process, take our time, and find a new Speaker of the House that will stand with Republicans and our Republican majority.
Technically, I think you have to make it privileged, which is whatever, then that would require a vote within 2 days while the House is in session. So she's kind of like putting her hand there, but not getting ready to launch yet, right? I feel like I'm not ready to go through with this again. Like, get us through November at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think it seems a little bit premature, and it's just very ironic coming from her when she was supporting Kevin McCarthy and urging the caucus to unite behind him when he was guilty of everything she's accusing Mike Johnson of being guilty of and more. It seems like it's a sort of petty, vindictive measure, and not really because she thinks on the merits that Speaker Johnson has done a bad job. And I think that kind of attitude towards it is not helpful right now when, again, Republicans do have such a slim majority. And I'm definitely not the type of person either that's like, oh, well, we just have to do what we have with the coalition we have, 100% of the time. I agree that there should be more fighting from Republicans, but I guess my expectations are so low that I feel similarly, like, let's just get through the next year and try to survive and hopefully win some elections so that we have a greater majority that we can sort of navigate these issues more effectively with.
If you're like me and looking to secure your financial future, then I want you to do me a favor. Call my friends at Bishop Gold, 844-984-1616, or go to bishopgoldgroup.com/Sean and have a conversation with them, or check out the materials on the website, bishopgoldgroup.com/Sean, about how you can add precious metals to your investment strategy. Maybe you have an old 401k, an IRA, or you're just looking to diversify your investment strategy. I called them. I had a conversation about where I am in my financial planning, how we could add financial metals to my strategy, right? So I invested my money with them. You get hit up from a lot of groups all over. I see it every day when I watch TV or I'm online. I trust the people at Bishop Gold Group. They're full of integrity, knowledge about the industry, about investments and strategies. Call them and help them create a strategy that works for you based on the assets that you have. Again, maybe it's an old 401k or an IRA that you have sitting there, that they can help you do it. You can talk to them about holding on to the metals. They can liquidate them for you. They can hold on to them for you. But call Bishop Gold Group, 1-844-984-1616, or go to bishopgoldgroup.com/Sean to begin your financial journey with precious metals. And you get a free gift. You know, Chad, I think it all comes down to leadership. And you need to lead from the top. And we need President Trump to be in that top seat saying, I'm driving the train now. And I'm telling you, we're going to secure the border. Here's what you need to do. I just don't think that the Republicans are rallying around Mike Johnson as the leader right now and saying, I get it, we're a team. There's no sense of team. And there hasn't been for a while now. And that's what I think is lacking more than anything else, is this sense that we have a common mission. We're all on the same team. We're supporting getting X done. We need to fight for this. We need to get this. No one shares that cause, that mission right now.
Yeah, the Kevin McCarthy thing, it kind of revealed in a big way on a big platform how fractured the Republican Party is in Congress. And Amber took the words right out of my mouth. For Marjorie Taylor Greene to do what she did when she cozied up to Kevin McCarthy, a little bit hypocritical in my opinion. I think what we have to do, and I agree with you, Sean, wholeheartedly, what we've got to do is let's rally the troops. Let's circle the wagons. That's something that the progressive liberals on the left are very good at doing, and they protect their own. We've got to circle those wagons. We got to heal that fracture and get back to, because here's the thing. I think that Mike Johnson has potential. I think he's got the potential to be what the Republican Party needs him to be as Speaker of the House if Donald Trump is president of the United States.
Right.
So let's get that done and then watch what trickles down. I think we get that done. We take care of that. Let's focus on the mission at hand, and that's getting this radically unconstitutional, anti-American administration out of the White House that's existing there right now, licking the windows. Let's deal with that, get Trump back in office, and I think the rest of that stuff falls into place.
That's the solution to me, is we've got a few months. Grow up, get together, stick together, get to November, let Trump win. And then I think Johnson will be a good partner to Trump. That's what I think will effectively be. I want to switch over to the Sunday shows. And I had a Sunday Night Live last night with, actually it ended up being close to 15,000 people that watched. And I always say, I have an addiction. I have to watch the Sunday shows. I don't know how I'll break it. But I do it. I also do it because I just think it's important. So many people in the comment section are like, I stopped watching these things. And I get it, but millions still do. And so I want people to understand how bad they are and what's going on. The first thing that happened yesterday that I thought was important was on ABC. I remember last week, Nancy Mace embarrassed George Stephanopoulos. She just ran circles around him, talked about how she was shaming him. He tried to trick her to come in and talk about her personal story of rape, and then she tried to flip it on him about why he could support President Trump. Anyway, this week, they brought in the JV host, Jonathan Karl. He had Marco Rubio on. Marco Rubio schooled him. But one of the things that I thought was great is that Rubio, he started playing these clips from 2016 against Rubio and saying, this is what you said about Donald Trump, that he was a con man. And Rubio goes, yeah, it was in the middle of a campaign. That's what you do. And he goes, why don't you ever play the clip of Kamala Harris going after Joe Biden for being a racist? Ironically, they had Kamala Harris on the show. They had an exclusive interview with her. She's asked a very easy question about the video. I think I've got it here. I can put it up for you. That probably, especially Chad down in Texas, everybody has seen this video now of the migrants breaking through a fence. Let's put it up for everyone to see. I don't know how you can not see that if you're the how you cannot claim that's an invasion of our country. One of the National Guardsmen, at least that we know of, was hurt. Chad, you're the guy down in Texas. The vice president of the United States then turns when asked about this and says, we all know that it's a broken immigration system. No, this has nothing to do with the immigration system. That's border security. That's not immigration. Immigration is how you process people in. That's how you break in and harm people coming in.
Yeah, I had retired Chief Chris Clem on my show from the Tucson sector last week. He made a very good and concise point about that. He said people have to separate what's going on with border security and immigration. Yes. They're two very different things, two completely different topics. What happened down in El Paso, that video, there's a lot of stuff going on down there. And then you'll have the people who will see that and say, well, they apprehended them. Yeah, they'll do that at that section of the border when 100 miles down the road, they're sending literally thousands across because they had to deploy resources to that spot to focus on that and leave other places unsecured. So the border is not secure. We know that. And I keep reminding people about these bills that need to be passed. The GOP supposedly squashed. And it's like, listen, that bill did nothing for the southern border. You don't have to pass another law to uphold the law that already exists. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
It's so to do that, Biden's going to go in, sign 94 executive actions in the first 100 days. It blows the border wide open. He can redo that. He can shut that thing down. Donald Trump gets it closed in 30 days. Rubio put on a clinic on that show. That's exactly how you handle that situation. You put it right back in their face. Kamala Harris is a moron. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And if she wants to go down to El Paso and stand guard, she's welcome to do it. It's a ridiculous situation that they're trying to defend.
So, Amber, the thing to me is, you can have a discussion about immigration. That video is people breaking in. They are breaking a fence under no circumstance at all. If you went to a concert right now at any venue where you are and broke down the fence to get in, they would arrest you for breaking and entering, for trespassing. Who knows whatever. That's people coming to our country, and the Democrats can't even, we have a broken immigration system that we've had for decades. No. There are legal ports of entry. There are 28 in Texas alone. That is not following the law. That is trespassing. That is illegal entry. The list goes on. And yet we're having this conversation as if I'm blown away. That is truly the definition of an invasion.
Mm-hmm.
I would love the Democrats who are spinning this narrative that the Republicans who won't vote for the Senate bipartisan border bill are responsible for the border crisis to explain how exactly that bill would have stopped what happened right there, because it wouldn't have. Jenny Terr, the New York Post reporter who first reported on that migrant stampede, has pointed out that some of them have already been released into the interior of the United States. We have no idea who they are. So, fundamentally, you're talking about a processing issue. So the Senate border bill, yeah, you have more agents, but what good is more agents if you're still doing the same thing, which is anyone who steps foot into the United States, whether they're captured or not, then gets processed and released into the interior. You're still having the same issue at the end of the day, which is we are not vetting people and allowing them to stay in our country for years and years and years. Sometimes they have a court date, sometimes they don't. That's the only difference, but it's still 6 years until they go to court in the first place. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? The faux compassion, too, that we hear from the left. Oh, well, we have to feel bad for them because they're economic migrants. We have a duty to let them into the country. It is not compassionate to allow people to do that to our border agents. It's not compassionate that we have new reporting that 1,000 migrants have died trying to make the trek across our southern border under Joe Biden in just the past year. That's 3 times as many in 2020 under the former president, Donald Trump. Those women are being raped. The children are being raped and killed. Coyotes are profiting. Drug cartels are profiting. Nothing about that is compassionate or humanitarian.
No, Chad, the thing is, I've always believed words matter. And if you want to come to a port of entry, claim asylum, I still don't agree with how we do it. Then they let you in, and then you have 85 years before we ever actually call you to court, to which you won't show up. And then we call you a dreamer, and then you become a citizen, and then we give you a gift card. Okay, that's the process. That's the legal system. I think it's nuts But that's the system. When you break over a barrier, you are by definition illegally entering the country. And the left and the media don't want to distinguish between the two.
Yeah, you both made excellent points. Your analogy of the concert is perfect. And then, of course, what Amber talked about with this border bill, I often challenge people to name one thing that border bill would provide to change and make this border more secure. And no one to this point has yet been able to do that for me. They say, well, you can hire more agents. Well, okay, so you're hiring more Uber drivers to take them to a processing center.
Exactly.
None of that makes any sense. Because, I mean, these guys are getting across, they're giving them a change of clothes, or they're swimming across with a sack on their back, and they change clothes, they leave everything right there. They go to a processing center. They know they're going to get a little check, and then they're going to, get a date, and then they're moving on. These people have moved into the interior of the country. It's a ridiculous situation. To your point, Sean, yes. We're in a mess. The hypocrisy of saying that this is okay while these people live behind their gated mansions and the White House is currently surrounded by razor wire is asinine at best. For people to continue trying to justify this in the name of compassion, calling them newcomers, giving them another label, it's ridiculous. The ramifications of this, just ask the family of Lake and Riley, and I hate the politicization of this murder, but you ask that. Those people, that guy didn't stop to ask her what her political affiliations were or who she planned to vote for in November. It's indiscriminate. The folks coming here have no intention of assimilating. And I truly believe, listen, to be fair, I believe probably 85, 90% of the people who come to the southern border do so with the dream of an American dream, and they want to come in and have a new life. I get that. But it doesn't take many. Just revert back to 9/11 and take a look at that. It doesn't take many, and you have chaos on your hands, and that's what we're headed towards.
Well, and that's what Rubio was talking about yesterday. These ISIS folks, the ones that blew up the theater in Moscow, I mean, he's like, you don't think they're going to stop there? They're coming here. They've said it. This is not some hyperbole. This is literally their intention, their stated intention, which, by the way, is a whole nother story about how ISIS and ISIS-K, et cetera, were decimated under Trump. But because we gave up Afghanistan, I mean, we could go down a whole rabbit hole here. But I think, again, you know, when you were talking, I was thinking to myself, the barriers and the fencing they put up at the Capitol, the barrier and the fencing they put up at the White House, if you push that, if you jump over it, you would be arrested and prosecuted. But when you do it at our southern border, we welcome you. We call you a newcomer. We give you a gift card, a change of clothes, a phone, a hotel room, and a flight to wherever you want to go. Why
hey, Sean, to your point right there, let me just jump in. I'm sorry, but the pushback that people get, the pushback that people give you is they say, that looks like what happened on January 6th. That absolutely does not look like what happened on January 6th, when you had a few hundred people who got out of control, and what happened. The majority of people on January 6th were not there to destroy the Capitol building. They weren't there to take over. It wasn't an insurrection. Those people were unarmed. And by the way, the people who went into the Capitol building were going into their property. Those are the people. That's the people's house. The folks coming across the southern border are not here legally. Right. They don't have a legal right to come do what they're doing. People on January 6th, they got out of hand. Many of them did. Nothing on the scale of numbers that we're seeing at the southern border. But those people had a right to protest. They had to keep it peaceful, and many of them didn't in some cases. But again, that's a whole other rabbit hole, as you say, we could take. But this is not the same to compare those two things.
Right. And Sean, you pointed out the fences on January 6th versus what's happening at the border. I mean, there's an individual who had their charges bumped up with a terrorism extension because they shook a fence on that day at the Capitol. These illegal aliens are, climbing over fences, knocking down fences, and no one is accusing them of terrorism. In fact, they're now heading up to Michigan. There's a newcomer rental subsidy program in Michigan now that gives population-eligible households with rental assistance of up to $500 per month for up to 12 months. And let me tell you some of the languages that this application is in: Arabic, Dari, Haitian Creole, Kinyarwanda, Pashto, Ukrainian. We have tens of thousands of Chinese nationals who have made their way across the southern border. I mean, to your point about terrorism, this is absolutely a loophole for terrorists around the world to take advantage of our lax border policy so that they can get into the U.S. And I'm sure there are probably sleeper cells working together right now planning something.
They'll probably sue if it's not in their language. We're here to destroy you, but you're not in our dialect. Could you please update your... I mean, it really is starting to blow my mind. I want two more things before to get through if we can. I started by saying it was Sunday shows in the media. The other one that was epic yesterday, I've never seen anything like this. This should go down in history. So let's real quick background. Ronna McDaniel gets pushed out of the RNC. We all know that. She gets a Hollywood agent and starts shopping herself around as a media contributor to different networks. NBC hires her. They put out a statement saying, we're excited to have her. She'll appear across all platforms. She's got insight. Leave aside that for a second, okay? Kristen Welker has her on the show, and she's apoplectic because we had invited her on, and now blah, blah, blah. And then Welker says, this will be a news interview. I'm thinking to myself, which ones aren't news interviews now? But anyway, I digress. She then didn't interview her, grilled her like a suspect for 20 minutes. It was horrible to watch this. I mean, I actually felt bad how painful it was. And then she has a roundtable with the guy that had been fired, Chuck Todd, as the previous host because he wasn't enough of a squish. Let me play everyone what Chuck Todd started off with because you got to hear this.
Let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. So I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. So she has credibility issues that she still has to deal with.
Yeah.
Is she speaking for herself or is she speaking on behalf of who's paying her? Once at the RNC, she did say that, hey, I'm speaking for the party. I get that. That's part of the job. So what about here? I will say this. I think your interview did a good job of exposing, I think, many of the contradictions. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination.
Okay, where do I even start? First of all, they've already demoted Chuck. Like, how do you let this guy go on your air and insult you as an executive of NBC that they owe you an apology? You work for them. You work for them. You don't get to tell them that they owe you an apology for making a hiring decision. Who the hell do you think you are? If they don't fire his butt today, they are a bunch of wusses. But Chad, I mean, just tell me what your thought was, because I was blown away. Leave Ronna aside for a second, unless you want to. I don't really, I mean, but I was just sort of like, they hired Jen Psaki, Simone Sanders, and he gets to go on this sanctimonious rant about, we were gaslighted for the last 6 years by the RNC.
This is real journalism on the part of Chuck Todd. Listen, that's the third time I've watched that, and I've laughed just as hard each time. I love watching this house of cards fall on itself. Ronna Romney McDaniel, she's a paid shill. We knew that. We're glad she's gone. Now you're discovering she's a paid shill. She'll say whatever the paycheck tells her to say. But to watch Chuck Todd do this mental gymnastics of trying to tell the executives at NBC how they should perform their job, which, by the way, they're the ones who sign his checks too. And as you pointed out, he's already been demoted once. I mean, I'd be like, how dare you tell us what we're going to do? We've built this network. We run this network how we want to do it. And he said, let's address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the argument is that Ronna McDaniel can't be trusted because she's getting paid by NBC to give an opinion, and she might be changing what her opinion is because she doesn't want to lose her contract, couldn't the same exact thing be said for all of the people sitting at that table, considering they're all also getting paid by NBC News and presumably don't want to be fired? I mean, it's the same exact logic. And also, since it's Holy Week, let me just say that Chuck Todd lost all credibility for me when a few years ago he decided to say on Good Friday that he might be a little hokey, but he believes with a little hope that every day can be good. I'll just leave you with that. I'm sure you all know exactly why that is so insane.
On Good Friday, yes. I'm sorry. I've seen a lot. I don't know why I continue to get outraged, but that to me will go down in history as one of the most epic rants I've ever seen. The sanctimonious BS on behalf of him. To both of your points. Oh, suddenly now it matters. I mean, oh my God. You know, it just shows you. I personally cannot believe that those executives today sit back and say, hey, Chuck, there's the door. Can we have your badge on the way out? Like, that would be the nice way to handle this if I were them. All right, guys, we've had a great, thank you for kicking off the week so strong. It is Holy Week, so we held back a little, I think. And we will not be using any of the references that Chuck Todd made. Thank you guys for being here today. Guys, we do have a great show all week long. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be here tomorrow. We're going to follow up with her about what she thinks Mike Johnson should do or should have done, and whether or not she will push for a full motion to vacate. Plus, RFK Jr. is going to announce his running mate tomorrow. Doesn't matter. We'll break that all down as well. Continue to subscribe. Hit those notification buttons. We're so close to 100,000. Help us get there. Spread the word. Rumble, Apple, Spotify, especially on YouTube. We'll see you back here tomorrow on The Sean Spicer Show. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.